Greetings. My name is James W. Cherry II, a proud member of the Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated, initiated at Lambda Gamma chapter on the campus of Elizabeth City State University in 1993, and I'll be serving as your moderator this evening. I would like to thank both Paul Anderson II, our International Program Chairman, and Cornelius Bideman, the Assistant International Program Chairman, for their time and effort to create a window of opportunity to discuss a topic that really doesn't get the shine that it should. Now, before I continue, I would like for you to complete a brief survey so that we can learn more about your experience and knowledge about the All of Us program prior to the event. Now, this assessment takes approximately 2 minutes to complete. Your responses will be kept confidential and secure. There should be a QR code on the screen now, and the link is also in the chat. Now, when you go to fill it out, under host organization name, please select the Black Greek Letter Consortium, or BGLC, NPHC OGRS. Now back to topic. The Omega Psi Phi fraternity recognizes the importance of mental and emotional wellness and encourages us as brothers to check on one another. Now this evening, our focus is on self-care, winning within. So what is self-care? Self-care is exactly what it sounds like. Taking care of yourself mentally, spiritually, emotionally, and physically. Now, we spend a lot of time pouring into others, whether it be our kids, our significant other or spouses. We could be caretakers, so we may be taking care of elderly parents, our jobs. But then after all that dust settles, who or what is pouring into us? Now, personally, I had the opportunity to co-facilitate a dad's parenting class here in Fairfax County, Virginia. And one of the first things we discuss is nurturing yourself, or self-care. And this is something we discuss weekly. We ask the other fathers, what did you do this week to nurture yourselves? And they come up with answers like, I took a walk, I read a book, I went in the garage and tinkered with that car that I've been trying to restore for years. So, the question really is, what do you do to decompress? Do you sit in the driveway for 20 minutes when you get home before going in the house, just to kind of relax from the problems of your day? What do you do to get the weight of the world off your shoulders? Well, on behalf of Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated and the All of Us Research Program, I welcome you this evening to an evening of healthy knowledge, as well as words of encouragement, in which I'm sure you'll certainly enjoy. Now, I do have one housekeeping item this evening. Now, if you have questions or comments, don't hold them in. And we encourage you to post them in the chat or in the Q&A section of your particular social media platform. Now, your questions or comments could be a way of helping others as well. Now, the questions will be funneled over and could be addressed at a later date. So let me tell you a little bit about our partner. All of Us is a program led by the National Institute of Health that's working to improve healthcare through research. Now, unlike research studies that focus on one disease or one group of people, All of Us is building a diverse data set that can inform thousands of studies on a variety of health conditions. Omega Psi Phi Fraternity proudly joins the BGLC to educate our communities on precision medicine. Now, too often, healthcare is one size fits all. Treatments meant for the average patient may not work well for individual people. Now, healthcare providers may find it difficult to coordinate care among specialists or to access all of a patient's health information. Research may spend lots of time on resources, creating new databases for every study. Now, in a partnership Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated has with the National Institute of Health through the BGLC, the All of Us Research Program is used to educate communities on health issues and disparities that plague our communities. All of Us is working to improve healthcare through research. Now, this creates more opportunities to know the risk factors for certain diseases, figure out which treatments work best for people from different backgrounds, connect people with the right clinical studies for their needs, as well as learn how technologies can help us take steps to be healthier. The first step is to understand the concept of health research. Now, research is the process of finding out new things. Therefore, health research is the process of finding out new things about improving people's healthcare. Did you know that the majority of health research has been conducted with middle-aged Caucasian men as the participants? Now, this means the medicine or treatment resulting from that research is designed specifically for that demographic. So communities who are underrepresented in medical research then are at risk of experiencing negative responses because it is not the best for their body. Going forward, we need to do a better job of including all types of people in health research. The only way we can fix this injustice is with your help. So, what is this All of Us research program? All of Us is a program led by the National Institute of Health that's working to improve healthcare through research. It is a longitudinal effort to gather data from 1 million or more people living in the United States to accelerate research and improve health by taking into account individual differences in lifestyle, environment, and biological makeup. All of Us is the largest and most inclusive health research program ever. Now, we're all different, right? But when we go to the doctor, our treatments are often the same. Who's been to the doctor or told somebody they've been to the doctor, and the other person says to you, well, did you ask them this? Well, did you ask them this? Well, did you ask them this? Because they had a similar ailment. You have to remember that your healthcare and treatment should be tailored for you. And this is called precision medicine. Precision medicine is a new approach to improving health, treating disease, and finding cures. It acknowledges that a one-size-fits-all approach to medicine isn't the best, because we know that what works to treat me may not work to treat you. Each person is different. Factors that greatly impact our health are our genetics, our lifestyle, and our environment. Ultimately, precision medicine can produce more accurate diagnoses, earlier detection, and better prevention strategies and treatment choices. This slide looks at examples of precision medicine, and I really just want to focus on a couple of them. The first being when you get prescription eyeglasses. Who hasn't taken somebody's glasses and put them on? I can't read something, let me borrow your glasses. And when you put them on, your sight might improve or your sight might actually worsen. That is because that prescription was made specifically for that person that you took the glasses from. The second one is blood transfusions. If I'm O positive and I need a transfusion, I need to get a transfusion from a blood type that is comparable for mine. It's not necessarily universal. Just because you're AB, B, you might not be able to help me if I'm in need of a blood transfusion. These are just simple examples of precision medicine, things that are tailored to your specific ailment. A growing body of research shows that centuries of racism in the United States has had a profound and negative impact on communities of color. The impact is pervasive and deeply embedded in our society, affecting where one lives, learns, works, worships, and plays, and creates inequities in access to a range of social and economic benefits, such as housing, education, wealth, and employment. Now, these conditions, often referred to as social determinants of health, are key drivers of health inequities within communities of color, placing within these populations at a greater risk for poor health outcomes. Glad you asked. Visit the All of Us website at joinallofus.org/together. There you can learn more about the program or choose to sign up if you're ready today. Or you can download the All of Us Research app in the Google Play or Apple App Stores. Now, you may notice there are 2 All of Us apps in your App Store. Please be sure to download the one named All of Us Research with the all-white background created by Care Evolution. Now, this app can be downloaded to your computer, your phone, your iPad, or your tablet. Now, once you've created your account, you will be asked to give your consent. Now, this includes reviewing a series of videos, which will provide more detailed information about the program. These describe all the types of information you may be asked to give. Once you feel comfortable, you know what to expect, And if you're ready to give your consent, you'll electronically sign the consent form. You can do all of this from your computer, tablet, or smartphone, or at a partner center. You may also elect to share your electronic health records, which is a digital version of your medical chart, and complete the consent to get DNA results. You will be asked to answer several health surveys. So in combination with other health information, the answers provided in these surveys can help researchers identify patterns about how our lifestyle and background affect our health. Now, after these initial steps, you may be asked to share your physical measurements and provide your biological samples so that the program can help researchers better understand how different factors, including our genetics, make our participants unique. I would ask that you now go to the site and locate the Join Now button to create your account, or at least go to the website so you'll know where to come back to when you're ready to become a partner. On March 31st, 2022, the Minority Student Research Symposium, or MSRS, invites students who are members of communities underrepresented in biomedical research to complete a research project of their choice using data from the All of Us Research Program Research Hub. Students will be paired with a STEM industry mentor to prepare a research poster and present it during the virtual symposium. Greater participation of all racial and ethnic groups is needed in biomedical research. URMs represent over 30% of the US population, but less than 9% of STEM PhD members and 7% of all physicians. We know that diversification of the biomedical workforce will help address the critical need the United States faces to reduce racial and ethnic health and healthcare disparities. Once again, I would ask that you please take a look at the slide in front of you and fill out the post-survey assessment. It should only take about 5 minutes to complete, and you see that there's a QR code and a link in the chat to complete this particular survey. Thank you so much for listening about the All of Us program, and we are looking forward to many of you signing up and joining us. Now we are ready for the moment that we have all been waiting for. It is time to receive a plethora of knowledge and words of encouragement from a few amazing men of Omega. Now, our first speaker will be Brother Elliot Kelly Jr. Now, Brother Kelly Jr. serves on the Supreme Council of Omega Psi Phi Fraternity as an international undergraduate representative. He was born and raised in Louisville, Kentucky, graduating from Central High School in 2016, and afterwards committed to the journey of obtaining a college degree. Now, despite his many options, he decided to stay home and attend the University of Louisville so that he could continue to serve the community that had poured into him for so long. As a student at the University of Louisville, Brother Kelly served as an orientation leader and mentor for African American freshmen. He served over 200 students in this capacity. He also hosted many events on campus, most notably beginning a trend of mental health events. He's most proud of his event series called Barbershop Talks, where Black men were able to have transparent conversation about Black masculinity, mental health, and their roles in everyday life. As a public speaker, Brother Kelly's message is centered around experiencing oneself in authentic ways, consistently seeking growth opportunities, and being the truest version of oneself. In 2019, he was the closing speaker for the Obama Foundation's MBK Rising Conference. He spoke about taking time to grow and heal as we try to facilitate those things in those around us. Brother Kelly recently graduated from the University of Louisville in December of 2021. His goals are to start a mentoring program intended to build social emotional intelligence, resilience, discipline, and confidence in the youth of Louisville. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you a 2018 initiate of the Phi Eta chapter at the University of Louisville, Brother Elliot Kelly Jr. Brother Kelly.
What's going on? How y'all feeling today? My name is Elliot Kelly Jr., and it's a pleasure to be able to talk to you all. So before I even start talking about the topic at hand, I just want to tell you about myself. I feel like it's important for you to know me before I give you advice or before I tell you give you any pointers or tips. It's important for me to tell you about myself so you know about my journey and why I learned the things and why I apply them to my life, right? So I'm from Louisville, Kentucky, born and raised. I grew up in a part of town called the West End of Louisville. It's considered the hood in my city. So a lot of big cities have them. You know, it's something that we all familiar with. Seen something like it in many cities. And just throughout my life, just growing up as a Black man in America, growing up in an underserved community, underfunded, under-resourced community, and then even going to schools with predominantly white people. So not understanding my journey in the midst of me going to school every single day and still having to achieve at a high level, it created a certain dynamic. It created a disassociation with who I was, and I started to lose touch with who I am. I started to lose sight of who I am, and I stopped taking care of I stopped caring for the things that made me me, and I started caring for the things that I felt like people would appreciate. Fast forward to high school, fast forward to college. I'm a student at the University of Louisville, and I don't even realize it at the time, but I'm going through a depression. I'm in a depressed state. I'm experiencing depression. I was experiencing suicidal ideation. Like, it was a point in time I wanted to take my own life for about a year, and thank God I never acted on it. I'm grateful that I'm here today. Every single day that I'm here is a blessing. Anytime I talk to somebody that asks me how I'm feeling, I just say it's a great day to be alive. Because in all reality, you never know how close somebody is. You never know how close somebody is to the brink, and you never know when your time is to go. So every single day, I'm appreciative for my opportunity to live, opportunity to be great, and opportunity to serve. So when it came to my mental health, I really hit rock bottom in about 2018, late 2018, early 2019. There was a December 2018, one day I just broke down crying. Like, I cried for a couple hours. And as a Black man, I was taught not to cry. So I can count on one hand the amount of times I've cried since the age of 10. The age of 10 or 11 years old. I can count on both my hands, right? So, and most of the time it was just a single tear. It wasn't anything major. And so for me to have this outburst, it was necessary. And I always looked at my tears and my emotions as a burden. I looked at how I feel as a burden, right? Anything that's not positive, I looked at it as a burden. But I started to realize at that time that when I let that out, when I expressed myself, it allowed me to, it was cleansing in a sense. It was like rain. Rain is something that we typically try to stay away from, but in our reality, rain is needed to grow. Rain nurtures. The tears are the rain for an individual that nurtures your soul, right? So that moment is what I needed to nurture my soul, and what it did was it planted a seed. And then planted a seed that, man, I need to treat myself better. And I started to learn. I started to read a lot more, and I started to really dive into the things that make me me. And I started asking myself tough questions like, man, what's your purpose? Why are you here? Who are you outside of the people you interact with and the things you do? Who are you outside of those things? Right? Those are the questions we don't ask ourselves often. So since I was about 16 or 17, I spent all my time trying to pour into people around me. But it's because a lot of times I felt like nobody was trying to pour into me. I spent my time trying to give to the world and give to everybody around me and prove to the world that I'm so valuable, because I didn't see the value in myself. I was dealing with something called imposter syndrome. On the outside looking in, I'm achieving these great things, but I didn't deem myself worthy of them. I always felt like I had something to prove, and even despite that, I felt like I wasn't worthy of it. How many times have you done something solely because you feel like you want a certain reaction, but you don't even know if you're worthy to do it? You don't even you crave a certain image of yourself. You want people to see a certain image of you, but you don't even believe that image yourself. So the real question is, who are you trying to convince, the world or yourself? And those are the questions that I was asking myself heavily, every single day, every moment of every day. And I made a commitment to myself. I'm gonna do the things that I love. I'm gonna do the things that I deem necessary, and I'm gonna always question them. And I'm gonna always ask myself, am I doing this for the world? Am I doing it for me? And it's important to serve. Being a servant of the world is still something very important to me. A servant in my community, being a mentor, being an asset, being a coach, being able to pour life into people. Those are things I love to this day. But now I balance those things with myself. Being selfish isn't always a bad thing, because we look at selfishness as a negative trait, but in our reality, there's a balance that you have to have. There's a certain level of selfish that you have to be to take care of yourself. You have to put yourself first at times, because if your cup isn't full, if you're not fulfilled and you haven't grown in certain ways, how can you facilitate that growth in somebody else? If you haven't put the work in to heal in certain ways, how can you help somebody else heal? How can you exist in certain spaces and continue to be better? A lot of times we dealing with trauma. And what happens with trauma is a lot of time, essentially what trauma does is it freezes you at that point in time. It psychologically freezes you in time. So a lot of people experience multiple traumas, even if they're not major traumas of death or severe injury or anything we associate with trauma, right? Small things can be trauma too. For example, emotional neglect from parents, being bullied. Those are things that lead to trauma as well. Just anything can lead to trauma. And the thing is, trauma freezes you at a point in time if it's not dealt with appropriately. So we have a lot of people that are adults. I'm 23 years old, and for a long time I was operating from the lens of a 10-year-old. I was 18 years old, 19 years old, getting good grades, being respectful, but psychologically and emotionally, I was 10 years old still. I hadn't grown. So how can I help somebody else? And how can I really continue to be? How can I be an adult if I'm psychologically operating from the time that I was traumatized? I had to grow. And I had to start taking it seriously for not only my growth and my potential in my future, but just my ability to be happy in the present. We focus so much on tomorrow, the anxiety about what we want to do tomorrow and what we were doing yesterday, the frustrations about yesterday, the worries about tomorrow. We forget to live in the moment. So it brings me to, I guess the first question I want to answer is, how do I prioritize self-care in my own life? So what changes did I make? That really allowed me to start caring for myself? One, I just started going on walks every day. I just took time. It was time for me to be by myself. Me being a sociable person, I was always around people, and I found myself essentially putting on a mask. And the mask wasn't a physical mask. It was an emotional mask of a smile. My smile hid a lot of dark things in myself. My smile hid a lot of pain, a lot of anger, a lot of frustration, a lot of sadness, a lot of despair, a lot of hopelessness. That's what my smile hid. So I started going on these walks, not because somebody told me I should, but I went on one day, just I didn't know what else to do, so I just wanted to move. I walked for about 45 minutes to an hour. And just that time with myself, I listened to some music, just spent time alone with my thoughts. Those are things that benefited me heavily over time. It was a daily practice. It wasn't one thing. It wasn't a one-time thing. It's something I do to this day. I go on runs, I go on walks, and I spend time with myself. Meditation, that can be something that's intimidating, or it seems like a trend now. People talk about meditation and mindfulness, but really, I focus on my breathing. I'll take a moment. I just take some deep breaths. I take a moment and I breathe in. I breathe from my core. I breathe in. And I breathe out. And what that does is it slows my mind down. I tend to have these anxious thoughts, and I tend to worry and overthink a lot. So when I take that breath, it reminds me that I can't control all of those things. Some of those things are out of my control. Relax, calm down, just take a deep breath and do what you can right now. That's what that. So when I'm taking that deep breath, when a lot of times we feel like life is out of control, or we feel out of control of our lives. And one thing that you can always control is your breath. One thing that you can always control is your body, right? So I try to control my breathing to give myself control over something, and it allows me to release control over things I can't control. I read. In order to learn, in order to grow and heal, I had to learn new perspectives. So I read a lot. A good book that I read it in high school actually, but I revisited it in college. It's called The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho. A phenomenal book, and it's just a unique perspective on life, and it's a paradigm, and it's a mindset shift. I read a book by John Maxwell called The 15 Invaluable Laws of Growth, The Miseducation of the Negro by Carter G. Woodson. A book called Cry Like a Man by Jason Wilson that talked about just emotional vulnerability not being a weakness, being one of the biggest strengths that you have, right? A lot of times as a boy, you're told you're crying like a little girl. But Jason Wilson reframed it and said, no, you're crying like a man because you are a man. Tears are a natural thing. And then essentially they're a liberating force that we need. It's something that frees us. Another thing I do to take care of myself is I just try new things. I experiment. I pick up different hobbies and I just challenge myself. I give myself something to strive for. And I do it solely for me because I'm going to achieve academically, and there's certain things you have to do. I had to get my college degree. I have to make money. I have to do certain things, right, to live a certain lifestyle. But at the same time, what am I doing for me? I will pick up a new hobby like boxing. So now I box. I've been boxing for about a year and a half. I picked up photography and videography about a year ago and editing. These are things I just love to learn. And I do them solely for me, and they give me peace. And one of the biggest things I can say is just express yourself through any means necessary. I can only speak to my Black male experience. As a Black man, a lot of times we don't express ourselves, and that comes in the form we express anger, we express happiness, but we don't express a full spectrum of emotions. A lot of times we don't have the tools to express that spectrum. So when I say express yourself, it just through art, through poetry, through just talking. Something I started doing was I just asked myself, "How you feeling today?" And I just Google journaling questions, and instead of writing, because I don't have the patience to write, from being honest, I do a voice note in my phone, and I just talk into it. And what I found is that it was freeing. It was something extremely liberating. It's something that allowed me to just release. And that's something that we all need. And I coach wrestling as well. And I tell my wrestlers all the time, just from personal experience, when you hold in your pain and you hold in your anger, you're like a soda shaking up. When you take that cap off, it's going to explode. So what can you do to make sure that you consistently releasing little by little, so you never blow up on somebody? You never blow up on somebody. You never blow up on yourself. You never self-destruct. So how can you do those things? Just constantly express yourself and find a way. Taking pictures and taking videos, that can be a way to express yourself. It tells a story. Writing, just talking to somebody, talking to a voice note on your phone, art, poetry, or even just therapy. Therapy is something that a lot of people sleep on because it seems inaccessible. But therapy is one of the most powerful tools you can have, because you're talking to somebody who specializes in mental health and healing, and they're giving you perspectives. And what a good therapist isn't going to tell you how to fix yourself. They hold up a mirror and they allow you to see what you give them. And that's what a good therapist does. And it allows you to, and we have all the answers that we need, but sometimes we need help. We need people that help us find those answers within ourselves, right? Next question is, what's the secret to winning in life? The secret it shouldn't be a secret, and I don't feel like it is a secret. It's something that we should constantly share, right? And one of the biggest things is really something we say all the time, but just hard work and consistency. The things you do every day build habits. And when you have a good habit, you have something positive. It builds your character, it builds your actions, it builds who you are, right? Your habits are your thoughts, your words, and your habits are the foundation of who you are. So when you change those things, you're able to change yourself. And not just changing it at one point in time, but like I talked about earlier, we're going on walks, doing something consistently. It changes how you navigate life, and it changes how you operate. It changes your experiences. Then being dedicated and committed to that, and then being willing to sacrifice. A lot of time, many times in life, we want a certain outcome, but we're not willing to go through the process. We're not willing to go through the journey. And that leads me to my next point. One of the secrets is not a secret. Once again, none of these I feel are secrets, but things that I feel should be shared that we often don't share. Take less and give more. So what do I mean when I say that? A lot of times we go into spaces and we wonder, how can it benefit us? What am I getting out of this? And those are great questions to ask. But in our reality, the goal of life is to give. George Elliott, he has a quote that I love, and is, what are we here for if it's not to make life better for one another? And when you make life better, like when you improve yourself, pour into yourself, right? Care for yourself. But when it comes to winning in life, you pour into other people the same things you pour into yourself. And when you get better, it flows over into the community. And when the community is better, it flows back into you. It's a constant relationship. So when I say take less and give more, what I'm saying is a lot of people in your life want to take and take and take. And a lot of times we do the same thing. We focus on taking and taking and taking. But in our reality, what do we have the ability to give? What are we looking to give? And what value do we have to give to the world around us? So always seek to add value to the world around you, and that the world is going to pour right back into you. Something I've committed to this year when it comes to just winning in life. I just graduated college recently, and now I'm applying for jobs. I'm going into, I don't want to say the real world, because the world is real no matter where you're at in life. But I'm starting to transition to life after college, just career, life, and what I want to do for a living and how I want to make my living. So what I've committed to is winning the 50-50s in life, is what I call it. A lot of situations that we feel like it's a toss-up or anything can happen, just committing to the good habit. In situations where you could do what's good, but you do what's comfortable. You could do what's right, but you do what feels better in the moment. And a lot of time, those are the moments that we lose out. Instead of doing in college, instead of doing homework, I scroll on social media. In real life, instead of getting out of bed in the morning when we wake up, we just lay down and watch a TV show, or we go back to sleep. When in our reality, that could be a moment that you win the 50-50. Even if you get up, drink some water, just go on a walk, go on a run, or even just do a little bit of work. And then if you're still tired, take a nap, that's fine. But you won the 50-50 because you did what was hard. And in life, it's going to be hard, but you choose your difficulty. You can choose the pain. You can choose the difficulty of making the right decision now, or you can choose the difficulty of making it harder for yourself later on in life. So you choose every single moment of every day. You're choosing what's hard. And then one of the things that I tell all my wrestlers, right? I coach wrestling again, and I tell my wrestlers that a lot of time we so confident in other people's abilities that we're not confident in our own. Kind of like I alluded to earlier, and I talked about this imposter syndrome. You know, we so busy betting on other people and we betting on the world around us, but when are you going to bet on yourself, right? When are you going to build your abilities? When are you going to have confidence in your ability? So when it comes to winning in life, it's really not a secret. It's consistency. What value can you give to the world around you? And believe in your vision. Bet on it. And when people, and they're going to, and the vision, I have a vision for my life and I know what I want to do. And this isn't the space to talk about that, but I have a clear vision for what I want to do with my life. And just in the past month, people that are close to me and that I love have tried to talk me out of my vision. A lot of times in life, we allow these moments to dictate what we do. But one thing is, you have a set of eyes for a reason. Nobody else has your vision. Nobody else sees the world the way that you see it, and nobody lives your life for you. Nobody lives the way that you do, but you, right? You're one of one. Nobody else can execute your vision but you. Nobody else can do what you love but you. So in these moments when it comes to winning in life, you have to know what you want and you have to just go for it. A lot of times people are going to try to deter you, but you have to have the resolve within yourself. And I literally talk to myself and I tell myself, man, we're going to do this. Hey, we're going to be great today. You know, it's going to be a great day. We're going to get this done. And when people try to tell me that I can't do something, why can't I? Don't place your limitations on me. And those are things I'm telling it to other people, but I'm also telling myself, don't let their beliefs on themselves dictate what you do in your life. So those are, and I guess with that, I don't have anything else to say. I don't want to take too much of your time, but you know, I hope you were able to take something from this. And I hope that I was able, even if it was 5 or 10 seconds, hopefully something resonated with you, and hopefully you can share it with somebody close to you, right? That's the purpose of life, is to give. So hopefully I was able to give something to you, and what I want to charge you with is paying that forward. That's how you win life. When everybody around you wins, you win. When the world around you is better, you become better, right? So don't only take from this call, don't only take value from this, but give that same value to the world around you. And with that, I'd like to conclude my time. All right, thank you.
Brother Kelly, you dropped a lot of gems on us this evening. First of all, I have to thank you for your transparency. That was absolutely huge. And I just want to kind of go over a few nuggets that I gathered during your speech. First of all, you said selfishness is not always a bad thing. If you don't look out for yourself, who's going to look out for you? Also, sometimes we get too busy focusing on tomorrow, as well as reliving the frustrations of yesterday, that we don't take time to live in the present. Good nugget. Also, prioritizing self-care in your life. You take walks, meditation, you try new things, expressing yourself, read. Now, Brother Kelly gave you a little bit of a book list. You heard The Alchemist, you heard The Miseducation of the Negro, along with 2 other books that he had. Write those down, jot those down for your future reading knowledge. Brother Kelly, I love your analogy of the shaken soda, and it's something that we've all done. You know, if you shake a soda, you drop a soda on the floor, you decide you're going to open it immediately, you're going to have soda going everywhere, it's going to explode. But what do you do instead? You take a little bit, release it a little bit, release a little more gas out of the bottle till you can finally release without getting the soda out. Now, the soda might dribble out, but you save most of it. I love that analogy of that controlled release. Also, what is the secret to winning at life? Hard work and consistency. Take less, give more. Winning the 50-50 by doing the hard things. Believe in your vision. No one sees the world like you do. You're one of one. And if I could paraphrase the rapper Jay-Z, you're one of one, none before you, none to come. Also, lastly, pay it forward. Definitely some great nuggets, and definitely appreciate that you took the time to deliver those to us. So once again, before we go on, I want to once again encourage you to fill out the post-survey assessment that's being shown on your screen. Of course, you can scan the QR code or follow the link in the chat. Our next speaker is a 40-year military veteran who was the 5th African American to reach the rank of 4-star general, Brother William E. Kipp Ward. Now, Brother Ward is a retired U.S. Army general officer and former president of Centel Corporation of Alexandria, Virginia. Currently, he is strategic advisor at Vectors Corporation out of Colorado Springs, Colorado. As the inaugural commander, he established the United States Africa Command, or AFRICOM, in Stuttgart, Germany on October 1st, 2007. Now, U.S. Africa Command is one of 6 unified geographic commands within the Department of Defense Unified Command Structure. Becoming the nation's first Black combatant commander, Brother Ward successfully established the nation's newest and uniquely positioned interagency combatant command responsible for all U.S. defense and security activities on the African continent and its island nations, with staff representatives from state, commerce, treasury, homeland security, and other U.S. cabinets and agencies. He is a native of Baltimore, Maryland, and was commissioned as a distinguished military graduate into the regular Army in June of 1971 through the ROTC program at Morgan State University. He is a distinguished leader, having commanded at every echelon from lieutenant to general. Now, prior to commanding AFRICOM, General Ward was a deputy commander, United States European Command, or EUCOM, in Germany. Earlier, while serving as deputy commanding general and chief of staff, U.S. Army Europe and 7th Army in 2005, General Ward was selected by the U.S. Secretary of State to serve as the United States Security Coordinator, Israel-Palestinian Authority in Jerusalem and Tel Aviv. Brother Ward holds a Bachelor of Arts degree in Political Science from Morgan State University, a Master of Arts degree in Political Science from Penn State University, an honorary doctorate degree in Public Service from Morgan State University, and an honorary doctorate of Humane Letters from Virginia State University. He is a graduate of the Infantry Officer Basic and Advanced Courses at Fort Benning, Georgia, the U.S. Army Command and General Staff College at Fort Leavenworth, Kansas, and the U.S. Army War College at Carlisle Barracks in Pennsylvania. He has a litany of military awards and badges, to include the Defense Distinguished Service Medal with 2 oak leaf clusters, the Distinguished Service Medal with the oak leaf clusters, as well as the Legion of Merit with 3 oak leaf clusters. His lifetime achievement, honors, and milestones are extensive. Of course, he's a member of Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated, in which he was initiated in 1979 at Phi Nu Chapter, home of the West Point Qs. He's received the Trumpet Award for Military Service, the Black Engineer of the Year Lifetime Achievement Award, 100 Black Men of America Lifetime Leadership Award, a life member of Morgan State University's Alumni Association, a permanent member of the Council on Foreign Relations, as well as a member of the National Security Advisory Council, U.S. Global Leadership Coalition. General Ward is a sought-after speaker for graduate-level seminars across the country, from George Washington University here in the DMV to the University of Washington and the Naval Postgraduate School in the West. He and his wife are proud parents and grandparents while serving as a friend and mentor to many. Ladies and gentlemen, I introduce to you this evening Brother General William Kipp Ward. Brother Ward.
Well, greetings, everyone. It's sure wonderful to be here with you today, and I'm excited to be able to talk to you a little bit about the process that I've followed over my life and my career of staying in touch with myself and continually moving ahead. You know, there's a saying that I've used it for a long time, and that is how we always work to improve the foxhole, how we always work to make things better where we are. And that begins with each of us as an individual. We as individuals begin that journey. So as I talk to you today about self-care and winning within, being a winner, it's so critical for how we do what we do, how we exist where we are, and how we do what we do to make a difference in the lives of others as well. there's no secret to it because each of us has a technique, a method, things that we rely on to move ahead, things that we do to try to do our best to take care of ourselves. Sometimes we don't know it. Sometimes we do it in a very unconscious way, our subconscious having taken over. But I call it creating a champion within yourself, because you can't be a champion for anyone else unless you're a champion for yourself. And over 40 years ago, when I joined this great fraternity, Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated, I learned a poem. And before I get started, or as I get started, I'd just like to, because this poem to me embodies what I want to talk to you for a few minutes today about. This is a poem by Ernest Henley, Invictus. And it goes a little bit like this. Out of the night that covers me, black as a pit from pole to pole, I thank whatever gods may be for my unconquerable soul. In the fell clutch of circumstance, I have not winced nor cried aloud. Under the bludgeoning of chance, my head is bloody but unbowed. Beyond this place of wrath and tears looms but the horror of the shade, and yet the menace of the years finds and shall find me unafraid. It matters not how straight the gate, how charged with punishment the scroll. I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul. Now, having said that, how do we get there? How do we cause that to be something that characterizes our life, how we live, and what we do? Well, it starts with fundamentals, things that we believe in. I call them the bedrocks. I used to talk to a group of youngsters, and I still do. And I talk about filling a jar up with life, the stuff of life. And what do you fill that jar up with? What's the stuff of your life that you put in that jar? And if you start with things that don't mean a whole lot, then the jar gets full, and the things that mean something to you aren't able to go in. So I say, well, start with the things that mean something to you. Those are your big rocks. They don't change. Those are your foundational rocks. Those things like your religion, your faith, your family. Those are the big rocks. Then you have little smaller rocks. They can go, then you put those in the jar, they start filling in some of the space. Smaller rocks might be where you live, maybe what kind of car you drive, maybe where you go to school. Those are important things, but those are those type of rocks. Then you have pebbles, things that, what kind of clothes you're going to wear today, or what kind of shoes are you going to buy, what kind of sneakers you're going to wear. Yeah, it may be important to you, but those are pebbles, not the biggest stuff that you have. Then you have sand. You put some sand in there to fill in some of the other crevices and cracks that you see in that jar. And what's the sand? I don't know. The sand maybe the kind of music you're listening to, or what you're going to have for dinner today. Things are important, but okay, yeah, it could be this, could be that, not too big of a deal. And then when you get to the bottom of it, you pour in some water, the liquid. That fills up everything. That's all the space. That's the space of what you got. Are you going to hang out someplace, or are you going to make a decision to go to this place when you should have made a decision to go some other place, or you shouldn't have gone there? Things that are really less important, but things that kind of fill up your life, those day-to-day mundane things. And if you have started with those day-to-day mundane things, that's all you focused on, then there's no room in your foundational kit for things that are really important. So that's why you fill that jar up first with your big rocks. Those are your values, things that are important to you, things that cause you to be who you are as a person, as an individual. And you got that. You got your family, you got your religion, you got your faith, you have your friends, maybe work colleagues, but things that are really the bedrock fundamentals of who you are as a person, your values. This defines you as a person, as an individual. On your journey through life, and for me, it was a 40-year plus military career, followed by an almost decade in the private world. Now at this point in time in my life. And through all that, those fundamental values have always been there. They've always been there, and they've always defined me to the very best of my ability. Now, as it said, things aren't always smooth. Life is like a sine curve, waves, ups and downs, ups and downs. So when you're riding high on the top of the waves, yeah, that's great. That's great. But what about those times when you're not on the top of the wave? You may be down in that swell, as it's called. Well, it doesn't change who you are as a person. And that's the thing that you want to keep in mind. You're still that person. Your values are still the same. And you have an ability to still be the very best that you can be because you have it within yourself to be that very best that you can be. So you work at that. You take your faith. I'll give you a couple of examples. There was a time when I was in one of my jobs, I was a battalion commander in Alaska, commanding a battalion. A battalion is a group of men, about 750, 800 men in my battalion. Alaska, wintertime, cold, and we were out on a maneuver. And this was a long time ago, before the Cold War. Sometimes we feel like we might be going back to that stage, but we were patrolling along the northern tier. They call it the DEW line, the Defense Early Warning Line, where all the radar systems that are across the northern part of the United States to intercept and to track things coming into our national territory. Very cold night in Alaska, about 20 degrees below zero, very cold out there. And I was saying to myself, wow, I'm doing the best to take care of my men, to keep them safe. And but they were dispersed, spread out, so I wasn't able to reach out and touch them as individuals. And so my thing was, how was I feeling about this? And it really wasn't feeling very good because I couldn't touch them personally. You know how when you try to make something happen, if you can touch it and shape it and form it yourself, you think you can get there, but I couldn't do that. So what did I do? I went to one of my bedrocks, and that was my faith. I just stopped. It was quiet, and I just said a little prayer that I would use to help me get through this time. That calmed me down, and I was able to go on, and things were just fine. So you call on little things that you know will make a difference to yourself, because in order to cause others to win, you have to first win and keep yourself squared away, being that champion within yourself. You have situations that arise, and how do I get through this? Well, one thing that my father told me a long time ago, and something would happen, and I think that the world was coming to an end. He'd say, okay, well, don't worry about it. Go to sleep, go to bed, and it'll look different in the morning. And they always do. Because you have an opportunity to reflect on things and you find a way out. But you don't do that if you get excited, you start doing things that are out of your character and creating a tension amongst those with you who you're with, creating scenarios that become then untenable because as opposed to clear thinking going on, emotions have taken over. So you want to stay calm, assess, don't take an immediate action, think about it, and then move on. Because most things aren't as critical as you think they are. You stop and you think about them, and it's going to be okay. I'll use this analogy. It may not be quite appropriate, but I'll use it. I would always often be asked over my military career or something go on, say, well, sir, how'd you handle that? I mean, that was real. I said, you know what, partner? They weren't shooting at me, so it was going to be okay. Now, if somebody's shooting at you, that's a whole different deal. But you can be calm, assess the situation, and then you make a difference. If you have more time, you find a way to take your mind away from that thing that might be causing you a problem or causing you to be concerned or creating some sort of dilemma for you, something that you find that relaxes you. And for many of you, you have different things, hobbies, people that you like to be around, that you talk to, but take your mind away from that thing if you have the opportunity that's causing the circumstance, the dilemma at that particular time. And for me, I exercised. I'd run. Running for me was a stress reliever. Now, for some other folks have different things, but for you, find out what it is. What causes you to take a breath, be a bit more relaxed? Maybe spending time with someone that you love, spouse, child, best friend. Maybe for some of you, going back to your faith, but something that will cause you to be relaxed because it is going to be better in the morning. You know, for me, another thing that I do would be cleaning my car. I mean, it would be something that creating energy, you're moving, and when it's done, you see a product that's complete. You know, when I was in graduate school in Pennsylvania prior to teaching at West Point, I had a neighbor that would come to me and said, "Man, you got the cleanest car around here. You always cleaning your car." Well, because cleaning my car, I could think about things. The motion of cleaning the car was no big deal, but when it was complete, I mean, wasn't anything fancy, but it was mine, and I kept it that way. And so you find something that works for you. Some folks go out and want to walk a golf course or want to go to a movie or whatever it is. Figure out what works for you and have that in your kit bag of things that you do to cause you to bring down the temperature, reduce the stress. That's what you want to do, because when you're stressed out, you aren't thinking properly. You want to keep yourself as calm as you can, because that's how you continue to win within. Because if you're not winning within, you can't cause your team around you to win at all, especially when you are the leader and leading that piece of it. And then when you're in a circumstance, look beyond that circumstance. Envision yourself at the next place, at the next step. Because when you envision yourself at the next step, you've already moved beyond this dilemma that you are potentially in. Because what it's about, this is about creating a champion within yourself. And only you can do that. There are many things out there that kind of point to that, how you're looking at the man in the mirror, you use the Michael Jackson song and other things. But the bottom line is, get beyond where you are. Get beyond the place you're in. And sometimes you have to imagine that. You know, this notion of you think something is going to be better than it is, you believe it's going to be better than it is, and it will be better than it is. And only you control that. No one controls that for you. You control that. And that's what you bring to the set. That's what you as an individual possess. You have that in you to move forward, to move ahead in some magnificent ways. You have your spiritual side, you have your mental side, you have your physical side, and they're all related. They're all related. Now, I used to do push-ups, and that's fact, I still do a few, not a whole lot like I used to. I do push-ups, and people ask me, "Well, sir, why do you do push-ups all the time? In fact, why do you have your soldiers do push-ups?" I said, "But have you ever seen me have my soldiers do push-ups and I'm not doing them with them?" The answer was no, because my point was that I do push-ups with my soldiers because it shows that we are together as a team. We are physically fit, we are mentally fit, and we are spiritually fit. And that was just my little thing that I use to reinforce that. And every time I did it, it just brought it together. So something that you have that you can always go to, and it takes your mind to another place, to a better place. That's what you're always trying to do. You're always caring for yourself in ways that no one else can. Other folks are around to help you take care of yourself, to be sure. When it comes to how you are always winning for yourself, it's because of the things that you're doing for yourself as you move ahead. And when you do that in a very consistent way, you do it in a way that works for you and only you, because some things don't work for other folks. So you determine for yourself what it is that works for you, and then that's what you do. And that is something that is going to be there for you through thick or thin. Doesn't matter where you are, you can always call, because you have developed it for you, designed by you, and it works because of you. And when all these things are there, you move forward, and all that you touch is moving forward right along with you. And when these things are a part of your being and who you are, then they are never denied. They can't be taken away. And no one can take that from you because it's yours. You internalize these things in a way that it matters. And in the end, when you say, "Wow, we made that happen," you look back on the things that caused it to happen, and you say it was because of how I approached whatever was bothering me. I got over it, and what tools that I needed to use were there. And again, these tools can be many. It can be friends that you talk to, places that you go, things that you do as an individual. Like I mentioned, some individual things that help get there. But figure out what it is for you that's going to work to cause you to to move forward and to move ahead. And when you do that, it's going to be the best thing that happens to you. Now, many illustrations are used how things can matter. When I was a young guy, I used to drive a fast car. And this fast car was had a radiator and whatnot, and we didn't know about put water in the radiator to keep it cool. Well, sometimes the water pump wouldn't work just right, and things start to get hot. And instead of having today's antifreeze every place, we just had water. And water boiling point was kind of 212 degrees. So engine temperatures get hotter than that. Water starts boiling, radiator starts overheating, then engine stops. Then how do you get this thing going again? Well, you stop and you get out. You have to turn it off and let it cool off. But you still got to get more water in that radiator. You got to get more water in that radiator. But you got to get that cap off first. Taking that cap off, big deal. If you don't take it off right, that hot steam will grab you and hold on to you in ways that you will never, ever forget. So you take that cap off very, very slowly. That radiator cap comes off and the steam starts escaping until you get smart enough to have those little caps that have a little release valve before the cap has to come off. So you build your own release valve. You determine what that release valve is to kind of let that steam off before you take the cap all the way off. And that way, when you move forward with what you do, you're doing it in a way that everything is protected, you're clear-headed, and that's that calming phase. Remember what I said about calm, calm, calm. You want to be calm, you want to be deliberate, you want to cause the things that you say and do to be such that, first of all, I'm feeling better within, because when I'm feeling better within, I can cause other things around me. My teammates, my organization, the mission that's at hand to move forward in a more effective, efficient, and deliberate way. And when that happens, we all succeed. So determine what it is that will relax you, that will cause you to be beyond where you are right now. Focus on that. Do something. Get with someone that causes you to be at ease. And then within yourself, make the decision that these things now are under my control. I am the captain of my soul. And I'll yield my time. Thank you very much.
Brother Ward, thank you, thank you, thank you. We appreciate your words of wisdom as well. And once again, jewels were dropped. First of all, how do we work to improve the foxhole? The foxhole is where you either try to get a strategic advantage or you're taking shelter from the enemy. You never know how long you're going to be in that foxhole. So how do we work to improve it? Creating a champion within. Invictus. Brother Ward, when you spoke the poem Invictus, of course, I think that resonated with a lot of us that are in this webinar. A lot of us learned that, and there are those poems that we can always go back to and try to relive to sometimes get us through our days. And that was definitely one of them. The big rock scenario, I think that's a scenario that all of us have heard at one point or another. Focus on the big rocks. You say your faith, your family, your religion. Focus on those big rocks, then the smaller rocks, then the pebbles, and then the sand. Also, I love your analogy about life is like a wave. You're not always riding on top. Sometimes you'll get in that swell, but it doesn't change who you are. It's just your circumstances change. I love what your father told you at one point. Go to sleep. It'll be better in the morning. It'll be better in the morning. Your situation may not have changed, but if you sleep on it, your perspective may change. I love it when you said stay calm, assess the situation, and if you have the opportunity, don't take immediate action. Now, I think we all know what happens sometimes. If you take immediate action, you have that tendency to fly off the handle. You may say something you regret. You may do something you regret. So if you have that opportunity, don't take immediate action. You also made a statement, if you can't win within, you can't lead your team to win at all. You have to take care of yourself. envision yourself at the next step. I thought that was awesome. And you also had a story about control release with the radiator. Build your own release valve. And what you want, and then what you're doing at that point is you're preaching calm. So everyone, we received some great nuggets of information this evening. Now, before we leave, I do want to thank all of you for tuning into this webinar. I hope that you took something from this that you can use on your daily walk. Thank you to Brothers Kelly and Ward for your words and insight. I want to thank the Omega Psi Phi Fraternity All of Us program team. Brother Anderson, Brother Bottleman, thank you for all of your production work. To our IT team, Quinez Bishop, Mickey Best, thank you so much. Thank you for the support from our grand bosses, Brother Dr. David Marion, as well as our executive director, Brother John Howard, for your support, the Black Greek Letter Consortium, and of course, our friends at the All of Us Research Program with the National Institute of Health. Lastly, I once again invite you to complete the post-event survey so that we can learn more about your thoughts on the All of Us Research Program. If you want to learn more, just go to the site in the chat and on your screen. Your responses will be kept confidential and secure. Don't forget, under host organization name, please select the Black Greek Letter Consortium, or BGLC, HPHC, ORGS. Ladies and gentlemen, have a great evening. Once again, my name is James Cherry. Be safe and be blessed.